Don't let me go home. You can't let me go home. Don't let me go home. You can't let me go home. Don't let me go home. You can't let me go home.
Hi, thanks for tuning in. This is the first in what I'm sure will be many videos in this Songs and Stories series, and the idea is that over the coming couple of months I'm going to sit down and perform each one of the songs from my album 1,000 Days Beneath the Sun. But prior to the performance I'll also just share with you a few stories about the song, the inspiration and the background behind it, and why I came to write it, and also how it was recorded in the studio. So, the first track of the album, this is called Don't Let Me Go Home, and I have really fond memories thinking back to writing this song. It was based upon a period of time in my life where I lived in London a couple of years ago. And it was getting to the point where I had to return back to Australia because my working holiday visa was about to expire. But the thing is, I was having such a great time in London. Those last 3 or 4 weeks that I spent there were, to this day, probably the best time of my life. I just had this great job that I really enjoyed, had really amazing friends around me. I was dating a really nice girl, and I was doing lots of travelling as well and seeing heaps of Europe. But I had literally had to pack all this up and return back to Australia. I couldn't understand how I'd gotten to this point where everything that I wanted in life was here, and in a couple of weeks' time it was going to be gone. And there was this one particular day in London. It would have been my last week there, and I spent it with this girl I was with. And we went for this walk through a really beautiful park, and it was so nice. It was really green, and there was wildlife, and there was a lake in the centre of the park as well. And I just felt completely at peace and at home in this place. And it got me thinking that how could I possibly be going home to Australia if home is where I feel I am now? So I guess that's the sentiment that inspired this song, and a lot of lyrics in the song relate back to this particular day that I spent in the park with her. An interesting thing about this song is that there's a line of lyrics towards the end that make absolutely no sense whatsoever. I wanted to put this line into the song as a bit of a personal touch. It's one of those things that only me and the girl the song is written about will actually understand. So I'm sorry, but I'm not going to tell you what inspired that or where it came from, but I'll leave it to your imagination. And another interesting thing about this song is that we originally recorded it with a bass guitar part. I remember my producer James North actually muted the bass guitar track just to see what it would sound like without the bass, and we both agreed it would actually improve the quality of the song taking the bass guitar out. So I thought that was an interesting thing to mention. It's the only track on the album, aside from the poem, that has no bass guitar. So that's about it from me. I hope you enjoyed the performance. This is Don't Let Me Go Home.
There's a silence in the room. It's a sound we've never heard before. An inflammatory parade of unfamiliar times. An embellished afternoon arose beside the reservoir. A capillary remains to seal the widened tie. Please don't let me go home tonight. Facing backwards, moving forth, that's when we'll finally meet again. Opposing our terrain in these new familiar times. Oh, the pillar of our court, the courage for the weakening. On the precipice of fall, you know you're stable in my arms. post-natal scenic buildings, using women averaging genetic provisional pandas, splendidly and crookedly measuring grandiose, infectious, retaliating hoverflies, inflaming behaviour tubes of cystic photographs. You can't let me go home, don't let me